one night, everything changed. He was just a soldier. Young, quiet, unknown. A country without peace, a people without hope, and a man who said, "Enough." This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré, the young soldier who didn't wait for change. He became it. Are you ready to hear how one man took a country and dared to dream for a continent? Chapter 1. A young man from Burkina Faso. Ibrahim was born under the hot sun of Burkina Faso. His village was small, quiet, forgotten by the world. But his heart, it was full of fire. From the time he was a boy, he asked questions. Why are people hungry? Why do we have no clean water? Why does our country suffer while others grow rich? His father was a farmer. His mother sold fruit in the market. They worked hard. They had little, but they dreamed big, just like their son. Ibrahim loved to read. He read about history, heroes, revolutions. He read about Thomas Sankara, a young leader who once changed Burkina Faso. Sankara spoke of justice, pride, and power for the people. Ibrahim listened to his speeches again and again. At night, under the stars, he whispered to himself, "One day, I will help my people too." Years passed. Ibrahim grew taller, stronger, quieter. He studied hard. He joined the army. At first, he followed orders like everyone else. But inside, he watched. He listened. He thought. The army was supposed to protect the country, but something felt wrong. Weapons arrived, but didn't reach the soldiers. Missions were planned, but failed. And in the north of the country, terrorists killed villagers. Ibrahim asked his captain, "Why aren't we helping them?" The captain sighed. "Politics? It's not our decision." But Ibrahim didn't accept that. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't forget the crying children, the burning homes. Something had to change. And then, something did. In 2022, the people protested. They were angry. They were tired of fear, tired of hunger, tired of lies. The president was removed by the army. But hope didn't last. Corruption stayed. Violence grew. That's when Ibrahim decided, enough. He wasn't a general. He wasn't rich. But he was ready. With a small group of young officers, he moved fast. He spoke to soldiers. He spoke to friends. His message was simple. Burkina Faso belongs to the people, not to the powerful. And in one dramatic night, everything changed. Gunshots in the capital, roads blocked, soldiers on the streets. By morning, a new voice spoke on national TV. Ibrahim Traoré, just 34 years old, calm, serious, his eyes full of purpose. He didn't smile, he didn't shout. He spoke like a man with a mission. "Our country is in danger," he said. "We must fight for it, together." Some were afraid, others were inspired, but one thing was clear. A new chapter had begun. And at the center of it was a young man from a forgotten village, a soldier, a dreamer, now a leader. What would you do if your country needed you? Chapter 2. Why was the army angry? The sun was hot in the sky. Dust filled the air, and the soldiers of Burkina Faso stood in silence, waiting. But they were not waiting for orders. They were waiting for change. They were tired. Tired of broken promises. Tired of risking their lives and getting nothing in return. No money, no equipment, no respect. Some soldiers had holes in their boots, some had no food to eat, and others didn't even have bullets for their guns, but they still fought. They fought against terrorists in the north. They fought to protect villages. They fought to save lives. And yet, the government said nothing. It was like the army didn't matter, like the lives of soldiers were invisible. Every week, bad news came. Another attack. Another village burned. More people dead. And every time, the same answer from the leaders. We are doing our best. But it wasn't enough. In the camps, soldiers started to whisper, "Where is the money? Why don't we have good weapons? Why are our friends dying for nothing?" The anger grew, slowly, quietly. And then, one day, it exploded. In one small camp, a group of soldiers refused to go on another mission. They said, "No more. We need answers." They were punished. But others began to speak too. Some said the government was stealing money. Others said foreign forces were using Burkina Faso, not helping it. And many said what everyone feared to say: our leaders don't care. And in the middle of this storm stood Ibrahim Traoré. He was young, but he saw the truth. He saw his friends suffer. He saw villages cry for help. And he saw the leaders live in comfort, far from the pain. He spoke with other officers. He said, "We are not just soldiers. We are sons of this land. If we don't act, who will?" They nodded. They were ready, not for power, but for change. Change that was not coming from above. So it had to come from below. And then, a secret plan began. A plan born from frustration, from pain, from love for their country. Because sometimes when people are pushed too far, they push back. And the army of Burkina Faso was ready to push. The people were watching. The world was watching. But no one knew what would happen next. Chapter 3. The Fall of the President and the Rise of Traoré. The night was quiet. Too quiet. In the capital city of Ouagadougou, something was about to happen. People felt it, in their hearts, in the wind, in the way the soldiers looked and moved. The army was not just standing guard, it was preparing for change. At midnight, the roads were blocked. At 1 a.m., the phones stopped working. At 2 a.m., the president's palace went dark. And then, gunshots. Short, sharp, loud. The city woke in fear, but the people did not scream. They listened. The sound of boots, the sound of trucks, the sound of power-changing hands. By sunrise, everything was different. The president was gone. No speech, no goodbye, no warning. Just gone. People turned on their radios, their televisions, their phones, and they saw a new face. Not an old man in a suit, not a rich businessman. They saw a young soldier, eyes serious, voice calm, Ibrahim Traoré. He stood tall in uniform. He looked straight into the camera. He spoke with no fear. "The president has failed," he said. "Our people are in danger. Our land is not safe. We cannot wait. We must act." Some were shocked. Others smiled. Because deep down, many believed the same thing. The old way was broken. The people were suffering. And maybe, just maybe, this young soldier could bring hope. But hope is dangerous. It can rise and fall in a second. So, who was this man? Who was this Ibrahim Traoré? He was not from a big city, not from a rich family. He was a son of the soil, a fighter, a believer, and now a leader. The military stood behind him, young soldiers, full of fire. They believed in him. And the people? They waited. Waited to see if this new chapter would be better than the last. Waited to see if this young man could do what others could not. Fix a broken country. Bring back safety. Bring back pride. Bring back Burkina Faso. It was a heavy weight to carry. But Traoré did not look away. He stood tall. He spoke clearly. And he promised one thing. This time, it will be different. But will it? When one leader falls and another rises, can the dream truly begin again? Chapter 4. The Young General, Hero or Dictator. The flag waved in the wind. Soldiers stood in line. And in the center stood Ibrahim Traoré. He was young. He was new. He was in charge. Some people cheered. Some stayed silent. And some asked, "Who is this man?" The newspapers called him the Young General. Some said he was a hero, a brave soldier who saved the country, a man of the people. But others were not so sure. "He is too fast," they whispered. "He is too strong, too bold. Maybe he wants power, not peace." Traoré smiled little. He spoke in short, powerful sentences. "Our country must be free. We will take back our land. We don't need foreign hands to save us. and many clapped, because his words had fire, his voice had strength. But power is a strange thing. It can help, or it can hurt. Traoré removed old leaders. He changed rules. He gave orders and expected silence. Some ministers disappeared. Some voices went quiet. Is this control? People asked. Or is this courage? One woman, Miriam, lost her son in the war. She cried and said, "I don't care who leads. Just bring peace, bring food, bring a future." That is what people wanted. A future. Not just big words, not just guns in the streets, but jobs, schools, safety. Traoré promised all of that. But promises are easy. The hard part is keeping them. Foreign countries watched closely. Some were angry, some were afraid. They said, "He's working with Russia." They said, "He's turning away from democracy." But Traoré didn't care. He said, "Burkina Faso must choose its own way. We are not children. We are not weak." He gave interviews. He met with youth. He walked in markets with no guards. And the people? Many still believed in him. They said, "He is one of us. He is not perfect, but he is trying." But others asked, "Is he listening? Is he growing too fast, too strong, too proud?" Because even a hero can become a king. And a king can forget the people. So, who is the real Traoré? A brave heart? A young lion? Or a man walking a dangerous road? Alone? Only time will tell. What makes a hero stay good when power becomes easy? Chapter 5. France leaves and Russia arrives. The sky was heavy with dust. The streets of Ouagadougou were tense. Something big was happening. Flags were being taken down. Signs were changing. And in the army camps, people were whispering, "France is leaving." For years, France had soldiers in Burkina Faso. They said they came to help, to fight terrorism, to protect the people. But many Burkinabés didn't feel safe. Attacks continued. Villages burned, families cried, and still, the French soldiers stayed until Ibrahim Traoré said, "Enough." He stood in front of the cameras, calm, firm. He said, "We thank our partners. But Burkina Faso will protect itself. No more foreign soldiers. No more outside control." Some people cheered. Others were afraid. "What happens now?" they asked. "Can we do this alone?" And then, new men arrived, new uniforms, new accents, from Russia. Not official soldiers, but fighters. Private, quiet, powerful. The word Wagner spread fast. Wagner Group, a secret army from Russia, known in Africa, feared in the world. Some said, "They will help us win." Others warned, "They bring danger." But Traoré didn't speak much about it. He stayed focused. He said, "We welcome help." but we make the rules. Still, people noticed changes. French flags were removed from walls. Russian flags were painted on trucks. Old allies went home. New friends came close. The game of influence had begun. Not just guns, not just soldiers, but power, control, direction. France was hurt. They closed their embassy. They spoke to the media. Burkina Faso is making a mistake, they said. But Traoré didn't answer. He was busy visiting soldiers, talking to farmers, speaking to students. He said, "The future belongs to us, not to France, not to Russia, to us." But the world was watching. Was Traoré truly free, or was he trading one master for another? Some said, "This is history repeating." Others said, "This is the start of something new." And in the middle of it all, the people waited. They waited for peace. They waited for food. They waited for a better life. Because in the end, it didn't matter where the help came from. What mattered was the result. Would the guns stop? Would the schools open? Would the future finally change? So now, the big question stands. When one friend leaves and another arrives, who truly holds the power? Chapter 6. The people speak. What do they want? The streets were full. Voices rose in the air. Flags waved, music played, and people shouted one name. Traoré! 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 Some danced. Some sang. And others just watched, with quiet eyes. They came from cities, villages, markets, and farms, young and old, rich and poor. Some believed, some hoped, some were still waiting. A woman named Awa stood in the crowd. She held her baby close. She didn't sing. She didn't shout. She whispered, "I just want milk, safety, and a future for my child." A man next to her shouted loudly, "He is the one. He will save us." But Awa stayed quiet. She had seen many leaders. She had heard many promises. And still, she walked every day for water. Still, her children slept hungry. Still, her brother never came back from the war. So, what do the people want? Not just speeches, not just uniforms, not more guns. They want peace, real peace. No bombs, no fear, no more running from danger in the night. They want food, not only for today, but for next week and next year. They want markets full. They want prices low. They want to eat without worry. They want a future. A school for every child. A job for every worker. A reason to stay, not run away. A young student named Idrissa stood with his friends. He wore glasses and held a notebook. He said, "Traoré gives us hope, but hope must turn into action. We don't want heroes. We want results." His friends clapped. They were the new generation. born in war, growing up in struggle. And now, they wanted more. They wanted change. They wanted power, but not just for leaders. They wanted it for everyone. In the villages, elders spoke in quiet voices. "We've seen too much," one man said. "We lost sons in every fight, and no one came to say sorry." In the cities, people looked at the sky. They watched helicopters fly and wondered, do they protect us or watch us? In the markets, mothers whispered, "Bread costs double this week." And in the schools, teachers asked, "When will we get paid?" So yes, some people cheered, but others waited. Waited for proof, waited for justice, waited for a reason to believe again. Because in the end, one truth remained. A leader can rise in one night, but trust must grow slowly. Can a young soldier truly hear the voice of the people and answer it with action? Chapter 7. Terror is close, and big decisions are made. The sky was red with dust, the wind was dry, and the fear was real. In the north of Burkina Faso, people were running. Men with guns came in the night. They burned houses. They killed families. They left silence and smoke. Villages emptied. Mothers carried babies on their backs. Children cried. Fathers held their breath. The country was not safe. Terror was not far. It was here. It was close. And Ibrahim Traoré had to decide. He sat in a room with his commanders, maps on the wall, phones ringing, voices serious. One general said, "We must send more troops." Another shouted, "We need better weapons." A third said, "We need help from outside." But Traoré raised his hand. The room went quiet. He looked at them one by one, and he said, "We don't have time. We don't have sleep, but we do have a country to protect." The room listened. He continued, "If we wait, we lose. If we fear, we fall. Now is the time to act." That night, he spoke to the nation. He stood in front of the camera. No papers, no script, just truth. "Our people are dying," he said. "Our land is under attack, and I, as your leader, will not stay silent." He declared a new plan. More soldiers, new bases, quick action. He asked the people to stay strong, to stay united, to trust. Some cried, some cheered, but all were watching. Because the next days were full of fire, troops moved fast, planes flew low, guns were ready, in the forests, in the deserts. The fight began. But it was not easy. The enemy was hiding. The roads were dangerous. The nights were long. In one battle, 5 soldiers died. In another, 2 villages were saved. Every day, loss and hope, side by side. And Traoré? He didn't rest. He visited the front lines. He shook hands with tired soldiers. He hugged crying mothers. He prayed with village chiefs. He said, "This war is not only with guns. It is with hearts, and I will not break." But pressure was rising. Foreign leaders called him. Some offered help. Others gave warnings. "Be careful," they said. "Don't go too far." But Traoré knew. The people wanted safety, not speeches, not games. He made a decision. "We fight," he said. "We protect every village, every child, every dream." And that was his promise. Not in gold, not in papers, but in action, and in the smoke of war. One thing became clear. Burkina Faso had a young leader, a leader who did not run. Now the question is, when fear knocks at the door, can courage truly rise to meet it? Chapter 8. The Media and the Hidden Truth. The radio said, "Burkina Faso is calm." The newspaper wrote, "The government is strong." The TV showed soldiers smiling, waving, helping. But the streets told a different story. Shops were closed. Families were afraid. And in the north, people were still dying. So, who was telling the truth? Was the country safe? Was the army winning? Or was someone hiding the real story? The media said one thing. The people saw another. In the capital, a teacher named Adama shook his head. He watched the news and whispered, "That is not what I see outside my window." On social media, stories spread fast. Videos, pictures, tears, villages destroyed, people crying for help, and no soldiers in sight. But the government said, "Do not believe everything online." They called it fake news. They said it was made to create fear. And maybe some of it was, but not all. Some videos were real, some photos were true, and some stories came from the mouths of survivors. A girl named Fanta, only 12 years old, stood in a dusty road. She looked at a reporter and said, "They came at night. They burned our house. We ran, but no one came to help." Her voice was soft, but her eyes were full of pain. And what about the journalists? Some were brave. They asked hard questions. They tried to show the truth. But others? Others were quiet. Too quiet. Some were told, "Speak only good things, or lose your job." Some were warned. Some were watched. And some disappeared. It became harder and harder to know what was real. One station said, "Traoré is a hero. He is saving the country." Another whispered, "He is hiding the pain. He is closing mouths." So who do we believe? Traoré spoke to the media. He said, "Freedom is important, but lies are dangerous." He wanted to control the message, to stop fear, to keep order. But when truth is hidden, fear grows in silence. And the people? They began to look for answers in other ways. They talked in taxis. They shared stories at markets. They listened to neighbors, not just the news. Because real truth often lives in small voices. In the voice of a mother. In the eyes of a soldier. In the footsteps of a child walking far from home. Truth is not always loud, but it is always there, waiting. Now, the people ask, what is really happening behind the words, the cameras, the flags, and maybe the most important question of all? Can a country move forward if the truth walks behind it? Chapter 9. The Battle for Africa. This is not just about Burkina Faso, not just about one young soldier or one new leader. This story is much bigger. It's about a continent, a land full of gold, oil, people, and power, Africa. And now, the world is watching. Big powers are moving, not with armies alone, but with money, deals, promises, and silence. France was there for years. They said, "We are here to help." But many Africans felt used, not helped. So France left, and others arrived. Russia, China, the United States, Turkey, even the Gulf countries. Each one wants something. Each one offers something. Russia brings weapons. China builds roads and bridges. America talks about democracy. And Europe worries about migration and security. But what does Africa want? That is the true battle. Ibrahim Traoré is not alone. Other young leaders are rising in Mali, in Niger, in Guinea. All of them are asking one big question. Can Africa choose its own future? They don't want old systems. They don't want puppets. They want freedom, but on African terms. At the same time, danger grows. Terror groups move across borders. People lose hope, and many try to escape, crossing deserts, crossing seas. Some never return. So now the world says, let's help Africa. But help always has a price. Some countries say, we will protect you if you support us. Others say, we will invest, but we want your resources. And in this game, the people suffer. They suffer in silence. While leaders make deals, while flags change, while speeches are made. But the real battle is not with guns. It is with choices. Will Africa follow the West? Will it turn to the East? Or will it make a new path? A path that is honest. A path that is fair. A path that belongs to Africans. Traoré stands at the edge of this road. He is young, he is strong, but he must choose wisely. Because one step can lead to greatness or to disaster. He says, we are not children. We are not followers. We are Africans. And we will decide. His words are bold. His dream is big, but the pressure is real. Behind every handshake is a deal. Behind every gift is a cost. And behind every friend may be a plan. So now, Africa stands in the middle. Old friends behind. New powers ahead. And 1,000 voices all around. But only one voice truly matters. The voice of the people. The farmers, the students, the workers, the mothers, the future. They must speak. They must choose. Because the battle for Africa is not just political. It is personal. It is deep. It is now. Will Africa rise, not for others, but for itself? Chapter 10. Can the new African dream win? Ibrahim Traoré stands tall, not just as a soldier, but as a symbol of change, of courage, of a new African dream. He dreams of freedom, real freedom, not just from war, not just from hunger, but from control, from foreign hands, from empty promises. He dreams of a country that belongs to its people, where the farmer is proud, where the teacher is paid, where the child can smile without fear. But dreams are not easy. Every step forward feels heavy. Every word he speaks is watched. Every action judged. There are enemies in the dark, terrorists who burn villages, old leaders who want power back, and foreign powers who never left. He wakes early. He sleeps late. He holds meetings, listens to advisors, travels to forgotten towns. He sees the faces. He hears the voices. A mother in the north says, "My son is gone. Protect the others." A student in the south says, "Give us books, not bullets." A soldier in the east says, "We need hope, not orders." Traoré hears it all. And he tries. He opens schools. He fixes roads. He gives speeches that shake hearts. But pressure is heavy, like a mountain. Some say he is too fast. Others say he is too slow. Some call him a hero. Others call him dangerous. And still, he walks forward. Because giving up is not an option. Not when his country bleeds. Not when his people cry. Not when Africa is watching. His dream is not just for Burkina Faso. It is for a new Africa. An Africa that stands tall, that trades on its own terms, that teaches its own children, that writes its own future. He knows the risks. He knows the cost. History is full of broken dreams, leaders who tried and failed, movements that rose and fell. But still, he believes. He says, "We are not too poor. We are not too small. We are not too late. We are just beginning." And when he says it, something moves. In the hearts of the people, in the soil of the land, in the air itself. A dream is dangerous, but it is also powerful. And maybe, just maybe, it is enough The world waits. The future waits. And the question is, can the new African dream survive when the whole world is watching?